3, 2, 1. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our Evolve 365 Microsoft Tips and Tricks session today. We wanted to start this weekly series to give simple and easy tips that anyone can go back to their desk and quickly implement. We know your time is valuable, so we strive to keep sessions to no more than 30 minutes, sometimes less. We also push the topics out monthly, so you only have to sign up once for the monthly series instead of 4 or 5 times. And if you ever miss a session, you can always find the recordings on our Planet Technologies YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/Planet Technologies. A little about myself. I'm your host, Tanya Kaiser. I have more than 15 years experience with project management across multiple industries, including technology, legal, nonprofit, and construction. I'm also a longtime Microsoft geek and a big SharePoint nerd. If you ever have any questions after a session, please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn or send me an email. So a little bit about Planet. Planet has been providing expert support in the Microsoft world for over 18 years. We offer full services for the entire Microsoft Cloud and Productivity Suite, including advisory, deployment, and training services, mobile application development and solutions, and strategic business consulting, including technology, compliance, and security guidance. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in today, and we're going to continue what we worked on last week. We're going to take that same document, and we're going to take a look at section breaks, headers, and footers in Word. We're going to cover some of the basics and then show you some things that you need to be aware of when you're working with these. So the number one question that people start to ask when they want to do some advanced formatting in Word is, why do I want to use all these different tools? Why create a TOC and use the built-in tools? And the same questions apply to section breaks, headers, and footers. And it really is the same answer as using a table of contents. This helps organize your documents, and it makes it easier for your users to consume, whether that's in a hard copy form or a soft copy electronically. So the other question is, how much time is this really going to take? Is this going to be a lot of work that I'm going to have to dive into? And the truth is very similar to TOCs. These menus are built into the ribbon now, so all you need to do is understand how they work, what you need to watch out for, and it's really easy to add in section breaks, headers, and footers to your document. And as I mentioned, all these menus are either on the ribbon itself or in a pop-up menu. Now the alternatives, specifically for section breaks, headers, and footers, you'll have less white space in your document. That sometimes makes it a little bit harder for people to follow along with a document, especially as documents grow larger. You'll have the same page numbers throughout your whole document. That may, disorient some people and maybe makes it a little bit easier for them to hone in on the sections that they want when you have different page numbers for different section breaks. And you may not have any identifying information on your document for headers or footers at all. So not terrible alternatives, but in the end, you want to make your documents as easy as possible for your users to consume. So the built-in tools that we've talked about, they really are built in. These are directly on the ribbon or in a pop-up menu. So once you know where they're at on the ribbon, what they're called, they're really easy to find. You don't have to go and do any developer tools within Word itself. They're directly baked into Word. Again, these are going to be primarily on the full client application, not on Word Online. We'll show you some of the simple areas that you can make edits on Word Online, but for the most part, you're going to want to do this in the full desktop application. Now, these are in two different areas, unlike our table of contents. Headers and footers are found on the Insert ribbon, and then breaks are found on the Layout ribbon, which is a change that's been around in Word for a couple of years, but sometimes just having them in different locations throws people off. Very similar to last week, we're going to take a look at customizing your Word application so you have some information on your screen that makes it a little bit easier to move around. So before we go in and show you where those tools are, I just want to give a quick synopsis of the different kind of breaks. We're going to look at those first. Now you have page breaks. All they do is separate that text by making it move to another page. A section break also separates the text, but it then creates a separate and distinct section within your document. And this section can have different page numbers, a different paper size. Maybe you have letter and legal. Maybe you have letter and tabloid size. And it can also have a different orientation. So even if all of your pages are letter size, you may have some that are portrait, and maybe you have a picture or a graphic or a large chart in there that does better on landscape view. So that's what section breaks allow you to do. Now the other break is just a column break. This will do exactly what it sounds like. It's going to make your text in columns. You can also use that column break to move text to a brand new column when you want to control where your text appears within columns. So we're going to go right into our demo today. Now I'm going to first show you on Word Online. If we were to come and open up our document and we wanted to edit this in Word Online, First of all, we can see that it looks different from the desktop application. Now we do have a couple of options. If I come up to my ribbon, you can see that I do have header and footer and page number menu controls. Now it's not really going to give me a whole lot of information. I have a page break. Now if I were to come in here and just click right after cover page, I can go back to that insert menu, and you can see I'm just inserting a page. I don't have an option for a section break, though you can see that there's one already in place. This is also a slightly weird layout if you're used to working in the desktop application. There's really no other way to change it. If you go over to View and you click Page Ends, it doesn't do anything right now. This may be one of the recent updates to Word Online. If I click Reading View, that actually takes me outside of the edit mode. So now I have to go back and forth. And this is why we say it's just better to run this in the full desktop application. So I'm going to open this up in Word. And once Word opens, we're going to go ahead and add in those items to our status bar. So what we did last week is we customized our quick access toolbar, which is at the top of the screen. We added in some commands for next page and for previous and forward that will help us move around when we have a table of contents. What we're going to do today is go to the bottom of our screen. We're going to right-click in here. You can see this says Customize Status Bar. What we want to show is our formatted page number, and then we also want to show our section. So you can now see at the bottom of the document I've got page 1, which is formatted page number is the page number that you assign it, what section I'm in, section 1, and then I have the number in the document itself. I've also got words here. Now you can turn these on and off. Again, this isn't removing or adding information into your document. It's just giving you some additional information that'll help orient you when you're in Word. You can see I can add line numbers, I can add columns. If I had information management policies on here, I can turn those off or on. I can turn track changes off or on. So there's a lot of things that you can have there at the bottom of the screen. So now we're in our document. I'm going to turn on my hidden characters. And the reason I used to work with these is just so I can see where those page breaks are. So this is the one that I added within Word Online. I'm just going to highlight it and delete it. Now you can see we have our first section break here for next page. And if we scroll down, our table of contents is here as well, and we've got another one. So if we didn't use section breaks, I'm going to come through and delete them, we would have our text running together. Now typically you're not going to do that. You'll have your table of contents on a separate page. What most people do is I have my cursor right at the top of table of contents, and I come into the insert menu, and you can see I have page break here. Now this is where people get a little confused because we have only a page break here, and I click that, and I'll think that's exactly what I want. My page break is there. I've now got my text on a brand new page. That's what I was looking for. Now where it gets a little messier is if I come into that same ribbon, insert, and I go all the way over, I can see that there's a footer here, and I can come in and I can add a different footer. They give me some formats. I can just go directly into the edit menu, or I can just specify page number, bottom of page, and then it gives me a couple of presets, left, centered, right. I'll put mine on the right, and that adds it in for me automatically. Now, because we just use page breaks, let me go ahead and close this menu out. What we have is if we go back to our cover page is now page 1, our table of contents is page 2, and then our document continues on page 3. That may be fine for smaller documents. For really larger documents, you may want to fine-tune your controls and maybe have your cover page as page 0, table of contents as Roman numerals, and then the body of the document as page 1, 2, etc. And if you're going to use the regular insert menu, it doesn't give you that level of control. So that's all page breaks do. They just move that text to the next page, but you're keeping the continuous page numbering and the continuous sections throughout. So again, this was very, very easy to come in. I can right-click also and edit the footer, and it inserted that page number for me. I didn't have to do anything additional. But again, I have the same page numbers throughout. So if I close out of that menu, now we're going to go back and we're going to see what section breaks would do. So I'm going to delete these page breaks. And this is the same dummy document that we were working on last week. I just put in some, placeholder text. But now instead of coming to the insert menu where we had page break, we're going to go to the layout menu. And you can see I have a breaks menu button here, but if I click that drop down, now I can choose from page break, column break, and then I have a slew of different section breaks, next page, continuous, or even and odd. So I know that I want to have next page for my table of contents, so I'll go ahead and click that one. If we scroll back up, we can see we still have a page break, but it's a section break, and it looks slightly different. It has 2 dashed lines instead of just the 1 line for page breaks. And if I come back to table of contents and I put in another one there at the start of the body of the document, I'm going to say next page on that one as well. So now I really have a document that's separated. Now, we added those items to our status bar. I'm on the cover page, but now it's going to tell me section 1, page 1. If I scroll to the next one and I click into there, you see it changed to section 2, page 2 of 12. Now this formatted page number will change as we start to update our page numbers. So again, section breaks, they work the same as a page break, but it's going to give you some additional control because now that we have our document segregated into section breaks, we can come in and update these page numbers. So if we go to the top of our screen, again, we can come back to our insert menu and we can check header or footer, but you can also right-click on your document and click edit and go directly into it. And you'll see that even our footers are matched with footer section 1. I can use the pop-up ribbon for header and footer tools to go between them. You can see when I clicked next, I'm in footer section 2, but I also have this key here for same as previous. Now by default, Word wants to turn on same as previous anytime you're using headers and footers with section break. It assumes this is one big document and you want everything to stay the same. It tries to be really helpful. And that works great for the majority of documents. But if you have any large documents, you may want to do some fine-tuning control. If I go to my next section, which is the body, again, it has section 3, same as previous. So what I do is I usually start at the end and then come back and just unclick that. So you can see that same as previous turned off. I'm going to go previous, and I'm going to unclick that, and then go previous one more. And now I'm at the front of my document and at section 1. Now I can close back through these easily and see all my documents. This is a pretty short document. It's only 12 pages. You may have tons of sections if you've got something that's, several hundred pages long. Maybe you have chapters. Maybe you have different sections in a regulatory document. But this is going to be enough to show you how you can control these. So now that I've separated out all of my footers, I want to come back to page number. You can see it's highlighted because it's a field, but I can just highlight that. Now I can either delete it and start over, or I can just come up to the page number menu and then say format page number. So you can see I've got a little pop-up menu here. It's giving me a number format. I'm okay with that. And then here's the section you want to pay attention to at the bottom, page numbering. Continue from previous section. This is my first section, but I really don't want that. I want to start at my own number, and I'm going to make my cover page page 0. I'm going to click OK. And now that that's there, I can actually just come in and delete it. It doesn't really matter if it shows or not. And I'm going to go to my next footer, and I can, again, come in and highlight that, or I could just delete it and start over. I'm going to go page number, format page number, and on this one, again, I don't want it to continue from the previous section. This is where my table of contents is. So maybe I want this to be lowercase Roman numerals, and I want it to start at 1. And just like that, I've got lowercase Roman numerals on my table of contents. We'll continue on to the next section. And again, I'm going to highlight this. And I'm going to go to my ribbon and format page numbers. And again, same menu, I want to start this at 1. So I'm going to close out of my headers and footers now, and I'm actually going to turn off my hidden characters. And I'm just going to pull up to the home page. We can see we have our cover page. I haven't changed a whole lot on it. It's just some simple text for right now. But now you can see I'm in section 1, but I'm on page 0. Now if I scroll to my next page, I'm on page I, section 2. The document itself is page 2 of 12, so this is the total document. And then if I go to the next section, I'm on page 1, section 3. So now the key to this is if we were going to print this out, we would have no page numbers on the cover page, but electronically, this is page 0. Table of contents is going to have the lowercase Roman numeral, page I, and the body of our document actually starts our page numbers at 1. Now here's one of the key things. We've updated this document. We do have a table of contents, so we want to go back into this and update the field, and we're going to update the entire table. Now you'll notice that my page numbers change. So I have page 1, 4, 4, 7, 8. Now table of contents is in there, but we need to come back and we need to update that field again since we changed a couple of our titles. So if I wanted my table of contents to show up in the table of contents, I can make that a title, and then I can scroll down to my next page and put our title back, go back up to my table of contents, update that again. I'm just right-clicking and clicking Update Field. And you'll notice now that even though I have my table of contents listed, it's pulling in the correct page number. So you can imagine if I have different sections in my document with different page numbers, this may be really, really helpful for an especially lengthy document. Now, if I wanted to come in and really modify these page numbers and have different section numbers, there's some more advanced controls that you can get to. If I wanted, for example, an exhibit, A-1, you can also do that as well with section breaks. But you can see with these few short changes, by just adding in some section breaks versus page breaks, we've already updated our document to quickly show how to navigate it. So now if a user comes in and they go to page 1, they're actually going to page 1, numbered page 1 in the document, not page 3, which is what it would have been if we had kept the original numbering with no page breaks at all. So again, it's just one more way to organize your document. The last thing I'm going to show you is I'm just going to pick some text here, and we're going to turn it into a column break. So since this text really is, maybe we had a couple of sections, we would just come in, if we go out to the layout menu, there's a columns button, and we can say 2 columns, and it's going to break that up. Now, since I have my hidden characters turned on, you can see that it actually creates a section break. And it's continuous. It's not moving it to the next page, which is why you have that choice in different breaks. Sometimes you want to separate the text format, but you want to keep the same page. Now, a column break is very, very similar, but it's going to tell you where to put the text. So if for whatever reason, maybe I wanted to put a picture in here, and I really want this paragraph to go to the next column, I just put my cursor where I want that to happen, and then I go back to break, and I click column break, and you can see this is much more like a page break, but within a column. So even working within columns, there's different breaks that you can use. If you ever try to do a list and you're not getting the numbers where you want, you can use that column break. Now again, when I turn off my hidden characters, that appears pretty seamless within the document itself. So those are a look at our different breaks. We've shown you a page break, how it just moves the text to the next page. We showed you a section break, how you can really segregate your document, have different page numbers on different pages. And then we also showed you a column break, which works within continuous section breaks. So I'm going to go back to my slide. Let me go back to the home page really quickly, and we'll talk about the next piece, which is headers and footers. Now, just by doing those page numbers, you've already seen a little bit of it. Of course, headers appear at the top of the page. They're in your margin space. Footers are at the bottom of the page in your margin space. And we've already seen with section breaks, right? They can be the same across the document or different for each section. Something that people forget is that you can include images in addition to text in your headers and footers. So this is a great option for letterhead or templates or just branding a document maybe with your logo. So we're going to take a closer look at our headers and footers. And again, I'm just going to come up to my home page, and I'm actually going to right-click in the header. And if we wanted to type in a company name here, again, we can just come in and start typing in a name. You can also use tabs and spaces within your headers just like you would any other part of the document. So if I said for my header, I have the same 1-inch margins all the way around, and I have a 1/2-inch header and footer, but maybe I want the header and footer itself to go beyond the boundaries of the document, I can just come in and drag my ruler over, and maybe we want our header and footer to be a little bit wider, and this is going to change it only for the header and footer. So I can come in and I can set, that particular setting just for my header and footer. And maybe after this, I want to put, employee handbook or whatever the name of the document is that I'm creating. Now I can come in, and just like you would in the document, I can come in onto the bar itself and add in different tabs. Maybe I want to right tab stop over here. And then I'll just drag that over. And then I just enter my other tab, and really easily, I'm now identifying what this document is at the top of every single page. If I wanted to apply any formatting to that, I can come in and do that, but we would want to make sure that we use a heading style that isn't going to be part of our table of contents. So you want to avoid heading 1s, 2, 3s, the numbered ones, and pick one of your other styles. And this kind of goes back to a session that we had a few weeks back about using styles. All of this ties together very, very quickly when you know what these different parts are within Word. So I'm going to copy this because remember, we kept our headers and footers separate. So I'm going to go next. Now you can see even though we changed the footers to not be tied together, you have to turn that on and off for headers and footers differently. So I can switch back to my footer and I can see that it's not tied to the one before it. I can go back to my header and it still has same as previous. And I'm okay with that on the header because the header is identifying, in this case, what the document is. Now this may be different for your organization. Some organizations have branding guidelines and document formatting guidelines. They may want your page numbers at the top and the identifying information at the bottom. You can see how this would work. You can control them individually. So I'm just going to put the name of the company and what this document is at the top in the header. I'm fine with all of those being same as previous. I'm going to go back to my footer, and I'm going to make those margins the same as the one on top. So I'm just going to drag them out a little bit. I'm going to move over my tab just a bit until I change this ruler, and then I'm going to pull that back. And I'm mainly looking at where do I want this to match up. So maybe we want the same information on the bottom of the document. We're okay with the page number, but maybe we want to add more to it. So I can just come in here and start typing. We're going to move this over really quickly to the left, since you can see it's right aligned, but I have that tab stop in there. I'm just going to come in and type the name of the document again. This could be, you know, the body of the document. I could put a description on each individual section if I wanted. And these are just, again, placeholders, so we wouldn't actually call this Employee Handbook main content. You may put the title of the chapter in here, you know, Chapter 1, you know, setting up your workspace, something of that sort. And then we're going to go to our previous footer, and we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to make that text left again, and I'm just going to type Employee Handbook, Table of Contents. Now again, this document isn't very long, but if I had a really long document, these headers and footers in here would help orient the user. So you've got several different ways they can know where they're at in the document. You've got the information on the top. Hey, I'm in the Employee Handbook for Contoso Corporation. Well, now am I looking at the bottom? Even if it's not obvious, I know I'm in the Table of Contents section. I know I'm lowercase page I. And if I go to the next one, well, now I'm in the main content, or whatever this chapter is. So again, if you had multiple chapters or multiple sections, you could have Employee Handbook dash, we'll title this one what we did, you know, setting up your workspace. And you could have this at the bottom of each and every section. So that's just a closer look at the table of contents. You did see how we could format the page numbers. And again, they have a lot of built-in ones here. So if you just need to go drop in a page number, those are there. You can also see, you know, I can come in and let's add an extra line to this, and I can put in revised. And there's a date and time. So I can just click that field and say, you know, revise, and that's going to insert it for me automatically. So a lot of different parts that you can put in your headers and footers. You can see I do have the option to insert pictures if I wanted to maybe include the logo here at the top. So different options that you have, and then I'm going to go ahead and click Close Header and Footer. And if we scroll back through, I'll turn off my hidden characters again. You can see that now I've got a little bit of a clearer header and footer. Again, the header is the same throughout the document, just letting us know what organization, what kind of document it is. And then throughout the document, I've got, in this case, just one chapter and the chapter. So again, not a whole lot to it, but you can see how this would be something that would help organize your users a little bit better. So I'm going to go back to my slide deck. The one thing that I want to talk about is you saw how I made that cover page. I happen to make mine page 0. It can be page 1. Another thing that you want to look at when you're formatting large documents is how is this going to be presented to a user in the final format. If it's only electronically, then you're probably fine with page 0 for the cover page and, you know, the table of contents and the body of the document. If it is going to be printed, you really want to take into account, is double-sided printing going to be used? I know a lot of organizations, both private, business, commercial, and especially our state and local government, federal, really want users to do double-sided printing. Not only does it save paper, it saves resources, it makes things a lot more compact. So if that's the case, you want to insert blank pages so that if somebody comes and prints that cover page, the cover page is going to print, and then you're going to have a blank page, and then you start the table of contents. So that's, again, overall document layout. That can be accomplished with page breaks, just putting in a blank page break. Headers and footers, you want to go back through, make sure each section has the right page numbers on it, especially when you have multiple sections for long documents. You want to do one final check on those. And then on the body of the document itself, you want to review if any titles are left hanging at the bottom of the page. So if you're using a lot of titles, we used a couple in ours, you want to make sure that those aren't just sitting at the bottom of the page and the table of contents is picking up, you know, setting up your workstation on page 3 when really only the title is on page 3. And the way that you can control that is by updating the style itself. to turn on Keep with Next or Widow Orphan Control, or you can go in and manually update it. So these are just overall document. Once you're done with all your breaks and your sections and your headers and footers, you've already done your table of contents, you want to go back through one final time before making it the final document and make sure all of these pieces are coming together. So I'll show you really quickly how you can look through that. Now, you want to do this with your hidden characters turned off. So if I go back to my 100% view and go over to our home page, you remember that in our session last week, we showed you how you can include a summary by using field codes. Now, if I look through my document with the hidden characters turned on, if I had a lot of field codes, this may actually change my page numbers. So when you're doing that final document layout review, make sure that that's turned off. You can see just how it's shifting the text by having that turned on. Now, we talked about having a header or footer at the bottom of the document. For the most part, ours look to be pretty good. We didn't put a lot of extra headers in here, and my styles were already set up. I'll turn on hidden characters really quickly. You see this little dark, it's black, I'm pretty sure, square here. That's an indication that you have Keep with Next or Widow Orphan Control turned on. And the way you can double check that is I tend to highlight it, but even if you're within that, you can open your paragraph menu, and it's actually on the next tab under paragraph, line and page breaks, and you can see that this is toggled on, Widow Orphan Control, Keep with Next, keep lines together. So if I came in, I'm going to cancel out of this, I'm just going to change this one and toggled all of those off, that little dot of the square will turn off. And you can see now it's hanging out there by itself. Now this should have pulled up the page, but remember we have a page break. So if I deleted my page break, my heading is going to show up in the middle of the page. Not a bad thing at all. You may want your document structured like that, but if this was at the bottom of a page, I wouldn't want that to happen. Now, I always recommend that people use section breaks, headers, and footers to push text to a page. You don't want to come in and type a bunch of returns and then just have it like that. And the reason you don't want to do that is if the text is modified any other location, these are going to show up on a completely separate page. So if I came back up to my table of contents really quickly, we'll go back to our home page, over to our table of contents, and I updated this. Oops, click the wrong one. I'm going to say update entire table. And we'll have this one at the bottom of the page, and that's not what we want. So scrolling back through, this is a little incongruous to the user using an input device. That's really not where we want it to show up. It's not on page 3. It's only the title. We really should have it on, page 4. So again, you can update that style to use quick Keep with Next, or this is a good indication of where to use your page breaks. And you can see if I came in and added more text, all of these returns could really throw off my document. So best practices, use page breaks where you need to separate text, and then do that final review. Make sure all of your headers and footers are in the right spot. Make sure that your titles are in the right spot at the top of a page for a new section, not the bottom of a page hanging out by itself. And then you'll want to go up, update your table of contents, pull in all of those final page numbers, and your document's pretty much ready to go. I always recommend to do a final document in PDF, even for internal stuff. If somebody opened up this Word document and it's a source file and they accidentally edited something just by scrolling through, somebody may go pull that and be like, oh, it was updated yesterday, when really all that happened is somebody was just scrolling through and Word marked that as a change. So final documents always push out as a PDF if at all possible. So some of the same things to consider as last week. Like the table of contents, breaks, headers, and footers are just helping keep your document organized and easier for your users to consume. These are all built into the ribbon, but you may have to do some additional training, especially when you're using multiple breaks and different headers and footers. And one thing that I didn't show, you saw this in the column, is breaks can sometimes change from next page to continuous if you add a new one in the middle, so it's just something to look out for. And then the caveats. If you use any of the automatic table of contents tools, once you've added a new item or moved some text around, you always have to go back in and update that table of contents to make sure it has the right page numbers. What's the alternative? You just have one big document. Same page numbers, maybe less white space throughout, but not a big deal if you have smaller documents. So that's really the alternative. Now, again, this is a lot of information in a short amount of time for word formatting, and I can do training on Word for a whole day or multiple days depending on how detailed we're getting. But you've also seen some changes come through with Office 2016 when they update Office 365. One of the changes I noticed recently is the eyedropper tool for color selection disappeared in one of the recent updates. So it's sometimes tough to keep your users up to date with Office 365 while they're also trying to learn more advanced skills with Office 2016. One of our services from Planet is Evolve 365, and it's our subscription-based help desk as a service for Microsoft Office 365, and its sole purpose is to increase end-user adoption and evolve your organization to be more productive. We have thousands of self-help videos. These are all on demand at the user's own pace that they can come in and look for information on, like, how to create a table of contents, how to insert a section break, how to insert a column break, how to modify a header and footer. Again, these are all at the user's own pace. They're easily searchable. We also have additional add-ons for live support and vision and planning sessions if needed. And every Evolve 365 subscription comes with a dedicated Office 365 trusted advisor like myself. Now, we do have a free trial site available that you can take a look at. It has a sampling of videos, about 200 videos. We have more than 28,000 videos, so this will give you an indication of how the content is paced and what you can get an experience of. If you're interested in that free trial, you can go to freetrial.o365support.com. You can also learn more about Evolve at our main website, o365support.com. If you have any questions or would like your own demo, you can give us an email at info@o365support.com. It's a really great tool, especially when you're struggling with how to train your users with different skill sets. Now, we're wrapping up our October series today, but we're kicking off our November series. We're going to cover updates from Microsoft Ignite that happened at the end of September, Skype for Business, Office 365 Groups, and Windows 10 features. You can register on our website at go-planet.com under Events, and you'll see that November series as well. And if you ever miss a session or you want to review them again, you can always find our recordings for our tips and tricks sessions on youtube.com/user/Planet Technologies. And we do have a Tips and Tricks Evolve channel on that as well. So I haven't seen any questions. We're going to go ahead and wrap up since we're just at time today. I hope this information on Word section breaks, headers, and footers was useful to you. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, LinkedIn, or send me an email. And I hope to see you online next week. Thanks, everyone, for joining today.